Hey everyone, welcome to the Warriors Podcast, and today I have a very special guest. His name is Jason Forrest. He is the CEO and Chief Culture Officer at FPG, also known as Forrest Performance Group. He is a leading authority in culture change programs and an expert at creating high performance, high profit, and best place to work cultures. As a sales professional, author, speaker, and management coach, Jason's job is to empower professionals, executives to unleash their human performance and master their leadership skills in sales, management, culture, and service for the purpose of increasing profit through people. So I just want to first start off by saying, Jason, thank you so much for being on the show. I'm super excited to have you on.
Yeah, Hadeel, I'm super excited to be on as well. And I love, obviously, the name of this podcast because we have a program called Warrior Selling, and even in our organization at FPG, we have warrior standards. Mm-hmm. And so we use that word a lot. And if you look behind me, body,
yes, the gladiator.
Yeah, so I've got the gladiator armor, a Spartan helmet, samurai sword, a Viking sword, gladiator sword. So I study ancient warriors and talk about their beliefs and traits and bring that into the selling world specifically.
I love that because I'm not going to lie to you, my favorite movie is The Gladiator. And so I don't know if you know the ending of that song with like the really well-known song that has like, it's not even like a real language she's speaking in. I always listen to that as I visualize. So I don't know what it is, but being that gladiator, that warrior feel, which I think you can relate to, really steps up the game, like it just makes you go into each day like it's war, So I love that.
I do. Yeah. And we are, one of the things in my most recent book, The Mindset of a Sales Warrior, we have all these in the book. I talk a lot about visualization and affirmations, and I'm a master practitioner in linguistic programming and all kinds of other things. And we have all these extra things that we do for our clients where I'll take them through some meditation tracks, some trance tracks, some hypnosis, as well as some morning workout routines and certain things. It's all about getting inside of their subconscious mind and releasing the warrior from within.
That's phenomenal. That's amazing. Well, hold on. Before we go into even everything that you do, because I know you have a phenomenal background, I actually really want to start off before you even had that warrior mindset. So how was that, Jason, before? Explain to me that. Before you got into sales and all of the crazy warrior mindset, wisdom and knowledge that you've been learning.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm very fortunate in the sense that I was programmed by my father and even my mom, in the sense that when I was a kid, if you kind of picture, today we have our kids that sit in the back and they have their earphones on and they're watching YouTube or playing some video game when you're driving around town or on a vacation. Well, back in those days, we didn't have that kind of stuff. And my dad would play some cassette tape and we would just be forced to listen to whatever he was listening to. And he listened to Silva Mind Control back then. And the Silva system is pretty intense and pretty crazy, but it's all about, again, hijacking or hacking your subconscious mind. Because the problem is that if you're, the reason why most people don't succeed in life, in my opinion, is because their subconscious mind is hijacking their conscious mind. So if you think about most people, like right now, everything that people are listening to is going inside their conscious mind. But the reason why people don't execute on what they hear in podcasts is because their subconscious mind ends up kind of hijacking them. It's incongruent with what their conscious mind is asking for. And so you have to do a lot of kind of work to get that subconscious mind to be reprogrammed correctly. Well, I'm very fortunate because since I was a little kid, I was always being programmed subconsciously from the Silva Mind Control and these different things. And my Sunday school teacher when I was a kid was Zig Ziglar. And I mean, so I was very fortunate to be able to have that kind of upbringing. And so, and then I played sports. I was a rush linebacker in high school and playing Texas football. And so I was always around kind of this extreme stuff. And then I was in the ROTC when I was in college and in a pilot program to be a pilot. And so I've always been around kind of everything that's all around, taking personal ownership over your success. And my dad would say something over and over again to me, if you succeed or you fail, it's all on you. And that was always the mindset. If you aren't the starting football player, well, it's your fault.
Taking the self-responsibility.
Everything. And so today, for example, I mean, one of the things that Mary and I say to our kids, and I believe you interviewed Mary Marshall as well, right?
Yes, he was wonderful. Yeah.
So we just got married November 24th.
How about that? Wow. Congratulations. I thought you guys got married before. Okay. Well, congratulations.
Well,
That's
we feel
amazing.
like we're married. We've been married for eternity. We just got ceremonially married.
Okay.
But one of the things that we say to our children is that that you are the problem and you are also the solution,
Mm,
which is really intense. If you think about today's kind of mentality as a whole, it's more socially acceptable to blame the teacher, the school, the coaches, society, culture. It's more acceptable to kind of blame everything outside of us.
right.
And so whenever we tell that to people, it kind of makes people cringe. Like, you're telling your 9, 10, and 11-year-old kids on the way to school that you succeed or you fail, it's all on you, and that you're the problem and you're also the solution. And
Mm,
if you're not getting the test scores, well, that's your fault. But it's
mm,
also, you could also change that around and become the solution. But again, there's just so much evidence that proves that the single thing that separates a top performer in any area versus the average is that mentality that I succeed or I fail, it's all on me, that I am the solution and I am also the problem. And as soon as you even like open the door for a second of saying, well, but there's also my boss, or it's also the
right.
economy, it's also the country I live in, or it's also that, as soon as you crack that open a little bit, then it's like, it's all over, in my opinion. So it's like
Right.
you either have it or you don't, you believe it or you don't.
Mm. Then talk to me about someone who wasn't fortunate and grew up with a lot of limitations, but is trying to fight and break through that wall in order to get that warrior mindset. What steps do you not only teach your clients, but what steps would you teach someone who just listened to this podcast to get started into starting to have that warrior mindset each and every day?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I mean, the first thing I would do if I was working with a person like that is I would say, okay, well, what's a time in your life, like what's a certain circumstance or situation in your life where you feel like you were on the top of your game? Like, what area in your life do you feel like you are a warrior? Could it be as
Mm,
a mom? Could it be as a wife, a husband? Could it be as a parent? Could it be, maybe you were 9 years old and you were in the kid, some play at school. I mean, like, what's, maybe it was math, maybe it was science. Like, what's something in your life that you can think of that you were a warrior? And then now let's backtrack and say, okay, well, what specifically did you do that caused you to be a warrior there?
mm,
And then now let's compare that embodiment, that kind of archetype, that human inside of you. Now
right.
let's compare that to some other area that you are trying to become a warrior in, and let's borrow the resources from the other version of you, and let's carry it forward to the new version of you that you're trying to become.
Mm,
And I'm only saying that because if people are in that complete despair where they feel like there's just no chance for me ever to be successful, well,
right.
then they're way too chunked up, and so they're overgeneralizing with their ability to be successful. And so I want to help them discover, at least one area, and then we discover one, and then we discover two, and we discover three, and there's kind of plenty of examples like that every human being
Mm,
has experienced. And then we just go, okay, well, it's possible for you. It's possible for you in this area because it was possible for you in this other area, and let's make those comparisons. So I mean, I think that would be one. Another thing that is very an easy thing that we talk about in the Warrior book is that to find someone else in your life that that could be a mentor. So like, with
mm,
my mentality that I just talked about at a seminar just a second ago about this, is that my whole life, not my whole life, since 2002, I had a really interesting situation that forced me to be this way. But in 2002, I decided to find the area that I suck at the most.
mm.
And then I go find the most successful person in that area. And I surrender and I submit myself to that person, and I be completely coachable.
Wow.
And I just do everything they tell me to do. And I've done it ever since 2002. And it's radically changed my life. And it could be in speaking, it could be in consulting, it could be in selling, it could be as a parent, it could be as a husband. I mean, whatever area that is, making money, finance, I mean, whatever the area is, health. I mean, working out, I mean, whatever the area is. And you just, but listen to the language that I'm using. What's the area that I suck at the most?
Mm,
And most people don't have the courage to even say that phrase. They'll say,
yeah.
well, what's like a weakness that I have? Or what's an area of opportunity that I could explore? Or what's something that I
Right.
could improve at? No, like, you suck at this. Like, what's the area you suck at the most? Like own it. And then once you own it, now you're at that state of awareness, and okay, now I can do something about it. But you've got because I think there's some humility to that.
Right.
But if you just say stuff like, well, this is an area I could improve in, well, you're not really humble at that. There's a part of your brain that says, well, I'm not that bad at it. No,
It's like the ego's in the way.
Yeah.
Right. Can I ask you what that time was in 2002 that made you want to do that?
Yeah. So if you go back to my, story in the sense of how, I always, because of my parents and because my mom was a great speech teacher, and she was a college professor, and my dad was this, amazing salesperson, owns this old jewelry store in Dallas, Fort Worth. And my Sunday school teachers, I just kind of had this almost an arrogant mindset. And I grew up in sales, and I did all kinds of different sales jobs for high school, working for my dad's store in different places. And so my first job out of college, I was a stockbroker at Merrill Lynch. And I passed the Series 7 in 21 days. It was most people take like 9 times out of years to get that. I just really knew this stuff, and I could memorize things easily. And so I worked so hard. I would come in at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, wouldn't leave till 9 o'clock at night, make 100 plus cold calls a day, get several FUs. I would just figure it out. But I just wasn't succeeding. I started off making $32,000 a year. And in 2.5 years, my average income was $36,000 a year.
Wow.
Okay. But I kept telling myself this story that these other people were like leaving early and having like long lunch breaks, and they were playing golf with people. And I'm like, these losers aren't working very hard. And like, there's no way they could be better than me. They must have, friends that's giving them money, or parents that's giving them money. It just can't be. I'm just not going to listen to them. Right.
Right.
I was very arrogant because, and really almost oppositional, because I just worked so much harder than they worked. And so there was this one moment though, 2.5 years in the business, where my boss comes to me and says, "Hey, you probably noticed that other people have been fired way before you have with the same amount of effort.
Yeah.
The reason why you've stayed here for 2.5 years is because I've never seen a guy work so hard and be so bad at sales."
Wow.
Isn't that interesting? And so he said, I've never seen in my entire life a guy with more work ethic than you and such a hard charger as you are, but you're also so oppositional and arrogant and uncoachable to get advice from anyone, to hear any coaching or wisdom, or make it I was like a freight train, I'm going to do it my way, and I'm going to do it better than anyone else, and I'm going to prove to the world that my way is better. And so he just said, look, don't lose your work ethic, but if you can just start over today and find something else, but be coachable and be open, and, and follow a successful strategy, then I promise you'll be very successful someday.
Right.
And so, my story is I immediately went to Barnes & Noble, which they were open back then. And I found this book, Think and Grow Rich. And I read the book cover to cover. And there was this one section that talked about alibis. And, if only I had wealth, then I could have, come from wealth and had wealth. And if only I had gray hair, I could be more successful. If only Republicans were in office, Democrats were in office, taxes were different, gas prices were. And so I was like, man, this book is like talking to me here. And then, the copyright, it's like 1930 something. Right. Mm-hmm. And so I was blown away that in 2002, the same alibis were true as in 1934, whenever the book was out. And so, but it said, the only if only that matters is if only you would humble yourself, and you would take personal responsibility for your success and your failures, and you would find successful people that you could model, and you could be coached by them. That's the only that's the only thing that matters. And it was just kind of like the combination of the advice that when I got fired, the advice that he gave me when I got fired, combined with the book that I found 24 hours later, and all of that coming true, that at that moment, I made a decision, and that is, I'm going to find the person that's in the area that I suck at the most, and I'm just going to humble myself, and I'm going to do whatever that person tells me. And I've done it my entire life since 2002.
Wow.
And it's dramatically increased any area of my life that I'm, want to be better at. Like that's what I've done.
How old were you when you were in 2002? How old were you?
Oh, 24.
No.
41.
That's my age. That's crazy. Look at that. Wow. So it's really just surrendering to what you're not good at, and allowing the opportunities to come your way to then try to be better at it and keep moving forward and having that warrior mindset is what I'm hearing. It's really just surrendering, knowing you suck, and then keep moving forward and finding those people that can help you get better at it and being okay with allowing them to help you. Because
and again, no excuses. So it's not trying to be better. It's I'm in or I'm out. Like burn the boats.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when Cortez was invading Mexico, you know, he had no one had ever conquered Mexico, and he told his commanders, "We're going to burn the boats. We're either going to die in Mexico or we're going to conquer Mexico. We're not going back to Spain." And I think that's the idea. Is the metaphor there is true that you have to commit, and committing is burning the boats. You know, and like I love the word decision, because I mean I think life is nothing more than a series of decisions, and people can change like that as long as they decide. But most people say they decided, but they haven't decided, because decision is connected to the word incision. Incision is to cut. So when you decide, you are cutting off every other option. And most people say, yeah, I've decided to start this workout program, and they don't do it. You didn't decide. You dabbled, you're thinking about it, you're going to give it a chance. No. Like you decided to get your health back, and you decided to be a certain weight, or you decided to be a certain level of health, or you just, you decided, like, that's it. You cut it off. You cut off any other alternative. You burn the boats.
That's powerful. What made you, or what was the purpose behind wanting to achieve this type of mindset for you at such a young age?
I think for me, I think just that was a very humbling experience for me. That again, I was such a hard worker, and I wanted to be successful so bad, and I graduated with honors in 3.5 years from school, and I was like, I want to get out there into the work world. I don't want to like be in college anymore. I want to start making money.
Right.
So, I already had all like the achievement drive. But because I told myself this, which is interesting to think about, like, in my case, I had an interesting story. That my story was, I'm working harder than everyone else, and therefore I'm better than everyone else. And so that was that ego in play. The nice thing about it was that I had that achievement drive, but what I just learned very quickly was that unless I humble myself. So 9 years ago, I came up with our 2 truths of FPG. And that our beliefs have more to do with our success than our abilities, and the coaching along the way makes all the difference. Yeah. And that's really kind of you can see that came from that experience for me, because I had part of the beliefs that were driving my capabilities. That was my work ethic. But I also, because I was so oppositional and uncoachable, that also controlled my capabilities, or my abilities. Right. And then I also refused to be coached. It's the coaching along the way makes all the difference. And if you think about it, it makes sense, because I think when you look back on your life, I think you'll be measured by two. This is my opinion. I think I will be measured by 2 things, and that is, who did I become, and how did I make a difference in the world? Like, I think everyone has a life, and they've been given a vehicle, they've been given an experience, and I think the vehicle that you've been given is, I think people are going to look back. You're going to be looked back in your life, and you're going to say, okay, like, what did I do with the time on this earth? Did I maximize my vehicle, my body? Did I maximize my body? I think we're spiritual beings living a body, in a body. And did I maximize, my vehicle? And did I do something of meaning with it? Did I make an impact, a legacy? Did I have that? And what I've learned is, if that is true, and I'm going to be measured like that, which doesn't really matter if I'm not or I am, that's what I believe, then I could either do it through me figuring it out along the way, or I could ride the experience coattails of other people. That's what wisdom is.
Right.
So I'm going to find other people that are older and wiser than me, that have kind of gone through things. And if, let's say they're, like when I was 22 or 24 and someone's 40, well, I'm going to take their 20 plus years of additional wisdom, and I'm going to now get everything I can from them. And now it's like I've grown 20 years in 12 months.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, if you look at all of my coaches I've had along the way, I usually will be with a coach for about 12 to 24 months. When we became the master practitioner in NLP, that took 2.5 years. It was extremely intensive. And to really be certified in that, a lot of people say they have it, but to be certified in it from the board of NLP, there's less than 2,000 in the world that had this certification. And our instructor, she's only certified 20, signed off on 20, even though she's taken thousands of people through it in 30 years.
Wow.
She's only signed off on 20, and that she personally would endorse, you embody this. Like, you can do this in your sleep. This is who you are now. And she signed off on Mary and myself after 2.5 years of this. But so normally it's about a year to 12 months, 12 to 24 months. And then I'll do the same process of what area do I suck at the most, and let's go find that. Well, now Mary and I are on a new journey, and we're trying to master the concept of masculine and feminine energy. And which is really about living kind of a higher consciousness life in all areas, in work and business and relationships and certain things. And there's a guy named David Dieta, who's the author of Way of the Superior Man. It should be called Way of the Superior Human. You've read the book?
I know the book.
So Mary and I went through a 5-day intensive with, and one of our instructors was a guy named Satyen Raja, and he has a program called Warrior Sage.
Why do I think I know that? Okay, keep going. I think I've read the book.
You should interview that guy. So
yeah.
Warrior Sage. So he and his wife have a company called Warrior Sage, and they really teach this idea about being a conscious CEO and embodying masculine energy in all areas of your life. And the masculine is if you think of like Shiva and Shakti, the masculine is the 3 elements of presence, claim, and penetration. And the feminine is invitation, surrender, and expression. And it's about, how do I embody both of these in life? So like in my case, one, I got to get the masculine thing down. So I got to make that thing work.
Right.
But then once I do that, it's also how do I flex and add in feminine energy, which we also talk about in the Mindset of a Sales Warrior book. There's a whole strategy there on how to use masculine and feminine energy in selling, which is really important because masculine's all about speed and feminine's all about flexibility, and they both are important.
Having a balance is very important. But I want to point something out that you just said that was extremely powerful, and I don't know if you know this or not, but Deepak Chopra says this best. He says your expectancy determines your outcome, and as long as you do not attach yourself to the outcome, your outcome will be guaranteed, right? And you said something so powerful, and the whole thing that you were telling me about is that you weren't, not once in your mouth came out, I want to be successful, because I was trying to achieve the success. I was trying to achieve this certain outcome. It was all about achieving your excellence. The whole, I suck at this. How can I be humble and allow someone else to come in here and teach me their ways? That's just trying to be excellent just for yourself, right? And that naturally, the byproduct for you was just the success. So I just really wanted to point that out for the viewers to hear, because so many of us listen to these people out there. They're always like, "Oh, this is how I made $100,000." Or even though I love Grant Cardone and I love his, I love just listen to his stuff, but he does talk a lot about money, and he does talk a lot about the outcome. But I really love that you're just focusing solely on your excellence, and that's I think where the warrior mindset came for you, because that allowed you to do that, which then allowed you to become successful. So thank you for sharing that. Seriously.
Well, thank you for sharing that, because that's interesting that you say that, because in one of my books I wrote called Leadership Sales Coaching, what I did is I took the philosophy was that a sales person is an athlete, and they should be coached like an athlete, not managed like an employee. Now, technically that was many, many years ago. Today, I would say every employee needs to be coached like an athlete or coached like a warrior. That's what I would say today. And so what I did is I studied the world's best athletic coaches. And one of the coaches I studied a lot was a guy named Bill Walsh, the legendary coach of the 49ers. And he has an amazing leadership book called The Score Takes Care of Itself. And I always, when I endorse that book is I say, if I think the best book on leadership is the one that I read, but the second best book is called The Score Takes Care of Itself by Bill Walsh. And I joke that humbly because for a long time I used his book as my curriculum. That's how much I endorse that book. And I even have an MBA in marketing, and I still think that book is the best book I've read on leadership. But in
Right.
his book, that's the whole concept, is that he developed first a set standards of excellence. And he said, we are going to measure and focus on and train and coach toward and hire towards these standards of excellence, and the score will take care of itself.
Yeah.
And that's a really powerful concept to yes, and what you said with Deepak is I agree with that. And that's the same thing with, we have another program called Goal Addiction that we also talk about in the mindset book, is that I talk about you've got to set the goal. So you've got to set the goal. Here's what I'm going to achieve this year. And we have some questions that we do to get people ready for that. But I do tell people, once you've set the goal and you've figured out why it's important to you, you've embodied it, you have the process of how you're going to get there, you know what kind of coaching you're going to get along the way, then you've got to then let go of the outcome, the goal, and you just got to devote solely and surrender yourself to committing to the process and the why.
Yeah.
And then the goal will happen. But if you every day obsess over this outcome, then it's just going to play a lot of tricks with your brain, because circumstances will come into play. There's a lot of factors that will come into play that will mess with your brain. And you'll end up cutting corners, or you'll end up giving up on yourself, and a lot of things happen. So you got to stay committed to your success is in dedicating yourself to the execution of the process. And that's it. Like, that's how you measure your success, not on the outcome.
I love that. That's so powerful. Thank you. Seriously. I got to ask though, where does spirituality come in this? How do you internally become successful within yourself in each day? What do? Do you write in a journal? What is it that really gets you spiritually connected with yourself?
Well, that's a whole podcast on itself here. So, so we do teach this in the book as well, but we have a very strong ritual process that Mary and I go through. And we did this separately before we were together, but now as a couple, we do it together, which is really awesome. And so we both wake up at 4:30 in the morning. Wow. And which sounds insane, but they do say billionaires wake up at 4 for the record. So I think it's always important to whatever they do, we want to do,
Right.
So we wake up at 4:30 in the morning. And one advantage of that is that, we don't wake the kids up until 6 to get ready for school and stuff. So that gives us an hour and a half of kind of self-time and together time to get ready for the day and to start your day strong. And so what we do is go through an exercise around the quadrinity. And so the quadrinity is something we learned from the Hoffman process, which is amazing. It's the tagline is called "You're Serious About Change," and it's really intense about going through your negative patterns in life. And anyway, and so the quadrinity is your body, your intellect, your heart, and your spirit. And so we go through a process every morning, a ritual process where we are in meditation, asking ourselves, what is our body needing from us today? What do we want from our body today? So it's a kind of an ask and a request. And then we go to what is our intellect needing from us today? And then what do we need our intellect to do today?
Right.
And same with our heart, ask and then request and then spirit. And then we ask for all of them to work together and to talk to each other and to play nice. And we ask for our spirit to be in charge, and then our heart to follow second, and then our body and our intellect needs to be in the back. So intellect always holds you back. The intellect is your ego. So so you always want to lead with your spirit, and then second your heart, and then you want to make sure that you trust your body, because your body is an indicator of kind of what's going on in your life. And most people don't. Most things that are taught out there, which is really fascinating to me, they mention the body the least.
Right.
But if you really are in tune with your body and how your body is feeling, your body is like the
answers to all your questions.
It's like what's the metaphor here? It's like a red alert sensor. It's like an alarm system,
Right.
Your body is going to know first, and you'll feel it in your body first. But most people are just not in tune with that. They haven't been taught that. So, we ask them to all kind of work in alignment together, and then we do a process of connecting ours together. So connecting our spirits together, and our heart and intellect and bodies. So
I like that, because you're really setting the intention for the day, which is beautiful. And you're doing it with a long period of time. It's not like 10 minutes. Let me just set the intention. It's like, let me spend an hour and a half making sure I got this straight.
Yeah. So that process probably specifically is about 30-ish minutes. And then we also do some individual meditations. We do that one together. And then we
Okay.
do some individual meditations as well. And again, from a science perspective, those who don't know this, it's really fascinating because this, you could say, okay, well, that's a lot of like kind of woo-woo stuff. Well, but from a neuroscience perspective, everyone needs to know the way their brain works is there's a conscious part of our brain, there's a subconscious part of our brain. And about 5% of our decisions every day come from our conscious mind, 95% come from our subconscious mind. So the problem is 70% of our subconscious is formed by the age of 7. That's why the co-founder of the Jesuits said, give me a child for the first 7 years, they will never leave the church.
Yeah.
The Jesuits knew this hundreds of years ago. So, but we've proven it today based on modern science. And so the problem is that, again, if all of your desires and wishes and aspirations are coming from your conscious mind and your subconscious mind is incongruent with that, well, you've got to do some work on your subconscious mind. Now, okay, why does this matter? Well, is that the way your brain frequencies work is, this is cool for everyone to learn, is that the highest brain frequency is beta, which is what we're in right now. We're in beta. So think of beta as baller mode. Okay, so baller, beast mode,
right.
B for baller, beast. Right below that is alpha. That's awake but barely awake. You are in a light trance during that time. So think of like when you're in the shower and you're like, kind of your mind's in kind of a light trance. You're thinking of all kinds of things. Your mind's wandering. You are in kind of a trance state there, which is good. When you're driving to work in the morning, you're probably in alpha.
Okay.
You're not, unless you're super awake and you've worked out and you're like up and ready. Most people though probably have some coffee. They're dragging, they're getting out of bed and they're like getting in the car and they're driving their commute. Well, they're in still this kind of trance mode, this light trance mode. Right below that is theta. Think of theta as transformational.
Okay.
Okay. So that's when your mind is awake, your body is asleep.
Okay.
And then last is think of delta, which is deep sleep. That's where you get your REM sleep and so forth. So, and why does this matter? Because there's 2 times that for the first 7 years of your life, you're primarily in theta.
Right.
Okay. So those times, so when you wake up in the morning, that's why it's so important to do that meditation practice when you're in that theta and then maybe even alpha stage, because that's when your conscious mind is kind of asleep still, and you're allowing to go right directly into your subconscious mind. So think of your conscious mind as like a great executive secretary that will not let you talk, as if you're a salesperson, will not let you talk to the CEO. You have to get through the gatekeeper. Your conscious mind is that executive secretary, but the decisions are going to come from the CEO, which is in your subconscious mind. And so so that's why it's important to meditate really when you're going to bed at night and to meditate when you're waking up in the morning, because if you're just kind of doing like self-talk during the day and you're in beast mode, you're going to have to really calm yourself down to get into that alpha or even theta. So it's going to take longer for you. So if you want to hack it faster, the 2 windows of opportunity there are going to be in the morning and at night. Or you're able to do that. Last thing I'll say on this is that, and this is a huge shout out for podcasts or even audiobooks when you're driving, because remember what I said earlier is when you're driving in the morning, you're probably in alpha.
Right.
Which means you are in a light trance. And so if you're whatever you're listening to when you're in that light trance is programming your hard drive. So think about this. If you're listening to something that's giving you anxiety, or you're listening to something negative in that light trance, well, that's programming your hard drive to see and believe that going forward the rest of the day. But if you're listening to like this podcast and you're in that light trance, well, again, that's programming yourself to get something different going the day. Same thing when you go to bed at night. I mean, how many people will watch The Walking Dead while going to bed, and all of a sudden they sleep? They go to sleep with Walking Dead on. Well, that gatekeeper, that executive secretary, has now gone to bed, and now you're programming Walking Dead inside of your subconscious, and now you dream that, and you wake up with anxiety.
Right.
So you can hack all that.
I love that because it really keeps your body at peace and allows your mind to be at peace as well. It's all like aligned. Very powerful. So you talk about all these warrior skills and things that you've developed. Tell me who is your favorite warrior of all time? Of all the people you study, who's your favorite warrior?
Great question. I mean, my favorite warrior would probably be Alexander the Great. So,
Oh, I love his book. Okay. I like him.
the reason why I like Alexander the Great so much is because he was a legacy-based leader. I mean, besides the fact that he's just an amazing warrior and he embodied all of that and just all of the, I mean, a warrior by my definition is someone who was a protector of something
Mm-hmm.
as well as an advocate for what they believe. So like as a sales warrior, they're a protector of the customer's goals and outcomes, but they're an advocate for their company and what they're representing.
I love that.
They're both, right? Or for my trainers, I want them to be a warrior trainer, which means they're a protector of the people they're training's goals and ambitions and dreams, but they're also a protector of them not hurting themselves, but then also they're an advocate for here's our solution that we can help you get there. So you got to be both. Well, so Alexander the Great was a protector of his people and what he was trying to accomplish. He was obviously an advocate of his belief systems, but then he was also a huge legacy-based leader, meaning that the reason why most empires end up not succeeding is because they don't create a legacy. They don't train those philosophies for the next generation. And so what he would do is he would live by these set of standards and beliefs and values. And then he would go and kind of, be in one country, and he would leave his generals behind that embodied those belief systems. And then they were then taught to teach that to the people.
I love that.
Which no one else would ever do that. I mean, that's a very Alexander the Great thing. And so to me, I think that's a really cool, concept. So he'd be my favorite.
I love your answer because I have his book. So I was hoping you were going to say Alexander the Great. So I'm with you on him.
Probably should have said George Washington since I'm American.
No.
Alexander the Great.
It was perfect. So then tell me, what's your definition of a true warrior?
So again, the warrior is the protector of the customer as well, or protector of their, whomever they're kind of protecting, but then also an advocate for their belief systems. The philosophy of a sales warrior is that all human beings are moving towards life improvement and away from pain. And a sales warrior is on a mission to liberate the customer from ambiguity and indecision. So that's our philosophy of warrior selling, and what that means again is we got to figure out when we're serving the customer, what are they trying to get away from and what are they trying to move towards, and where is their indecision. And I believe that ambiguity, and this is a very bold statement, but I believe that ambiguity is the most crippling disease of the human race.
Interesting.
Not being poor or, like ambiguity is the most crippling disease of the human race. Because remember I said earlier that life's just a series of decisions. And as soon as someone decides, they cut off anything else.
Right.
But the reason why people don't give themselves peace and freedom in whatever they desire in life is because they don't decide. And so it's that ambiguity of, should I do this? Should I do that? Should I listen to this? Should I follow this person? Should I go to this goal? Should I change this career? Or it's just that indecision.
It's like so many different options. Right.
Yeah, there's too much. And so again, that sales warrior, and this is even me, how we lead our company. And like I said, I think you said that we're 4 times in a row best place to work in Fort Worth out of 80,000 companies. And that's even how we lead our own. Thank you. That's how we lead our own people is they'll come to us with some struggles and concerns. And our whole goal is, how do we get you to decide? How do we remove that ambiguity that's holding you back? Because you can't enjoy and be present with life if you're stuck in this place of ambiguity.
And how does one get out of that unclarity? Because when it gets foggy when you have that many options.
Yep. So a simple concept that we can all kind of learn here is that whenever I'm underwhelmed with what I want to do in life or what my next thing is, whenever I'm underwhelmed, I need to chunk up to the why.
Okay.
So I need to see what the why is. It's Simon Sinek kind of power of why thing.
Right.
And like, what's it really going to do for myself and my family? What's the benefit of this? Whenever I'm overwhelmed, I need to chunk down. And so the reason why people have anxiety and they're overwhelmed and they're in that ambiguity place is, like we all know, they have too many choices. So what we would do is we would kind of figure out what is their criteria for what they're really trying to accomplish, what's really most important to them. And then the more we add that criteria, the more it removes the options. And so we're going to consistently chunk down to what's a decision they can make right now,
right.
Small decision. And then that small decision leads to another decision, until they've now made the big decision. And we do that in our sales process too. So like in business to business selling, there's 10 decisions a customer has to make before they can make the major decision of, am I going to do this or not? And so in our sales process, we even teach you chunk down the decisions until we can focus on just agreeing to decide on this decision. And then that leads to other decisions. And decisions are like, if it comes to, a training program, it could be, have I decided to train my people? Do I know what kind of training that I'm looking for? What's my criteria for training? I mean, there's just a lot of decisions. And then once you kind of get that criteria, then it's easy for people to make the overall decision.
I like that formula too. In a way, you were putting it as a formula. So I really like that, because it's like really like, okay, what's most important to you? Keep chunking it down until like you finally say, okay, wow, this is it. And take that small step. That's beautiful.
That's right. Yeah.
So tell me, and usually this is the last question I ask, so I'm curious, what's one truth you found on your journey of success that you'd like to share with us?
One truth. I would say that one truth would be that there's always someone out there that can show you how to be unstuck in whatever area you're stuck in. And that's, again, me just kind of, I've never said it before, but I would just say, meaning that, again, that truth of that it's not impossible. Like nothing's impossible. I mean, like, it's interesting because any problem that we have today, we're going to solve sometime in the future. Like someone has an answer for it. Like think about any disease that plagued us in the last 100 years. We've evolved in such a way that someone found the answer for that. Right. And so I just think that if people could just kind of live by the fact that I might be stuck in this area, but there's someone in the world that's not stuck in this area. And all I got to go do is find the person that's successful in this area. I need to ride their experience coattails. Like something I came up with a long time ago is that my definition of stress, simple definition, not some psychological definition, my definition of stress is just not knowing how to win. Well, if it's not knowing how to win, then just find someone who's winning in the area that you don't know how to win in. And again, just be coached by them. And then you model them, you ride their experience coattails, and you do what they are doing, and then you'll win. It's just.
See the formulas they had to create for themselves and then find that same answer. I love it.
That's it. Yeah.
So Jason, I know you have this warrior's mindset, sales mindset book. Tell me where we can find that, where we can buy it. Talk to me about where we can find you online. If anybody wants to reach out to you or even hire your company.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So the new book, The Mindset of a Sales Warrior, you can definitely buy on Amazon, Kindle. It just released on Audible yesterday, so you can get it from there. So the Mindset of a Sales Warrior book, 42 strategies, mental toughness strategies around that. Again, I studied Deepak, Brene Brown. I studied Michael Beckwith. I studied Carol Dweck, Daniel Coyle. I mean, you name it. And my question was, if they were to give advice to a salesperson on how to improve your mindset as it relates to selling, what would they say? And that's really what the book is. So it's like an executive summary of like all these great different people, Byron Katie, I mean, just all of them, Tony Robbins.
Right.
And so, however, if they go to warriormindsetbook.com, then they can get the book for free. We just ask they pay shipping and handling.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that's the current offer right now. So again, it's on Amazon for like 20 something bucks, or they can pay less than 10 bucks for shipping and handling and get it for free. And in addition to that, there are some bonus offers on there that they can get the audiobook as a bonus offer where Mary and I are discussing each strategy. I also have some meditations in there, some affirmations. I've got some sleep tracks where I'm going to go into your subconscious at night and you're going to bring me home with you, and I'm going to
Right.
go inside your brain, and I'm going to help you get unstuck in some of these things and embody what a warrior really means. And so there's some additional things, some coaching sessions I've recorded in there that people can, and I've broken down how I've coached people. And so that's all in there as well. thewarriormindsetbook.com.
Perfect. Okay. So I'll put all the links below and everything, and also put your Facebook as well and Instagram or the other social media accounts you have. I'm sure I think Mary gave me some of them. So I'll put that there for everyone to see. But overall, Jason, thank you for being on the podcast. Seriously, all your wisdom, your knowledge, it was phenomenal to listen to because I really could resonate with you. So thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you. And again, have us back whenever myself or Mary, have us back whenever you would like.
Thank you. I appreciate it. All right, guys, stay tuned to the next episode. And like I said, I'll put all the links out so you can find Jason. All right, have a good one.